Tonight on News 5 Live, police in Hopkins are investigating a double murder. The bodies of Quinton Espinosa and American national Roland Burley are found with gunshot wounds. Commissioner of Police Chester Williams visits contraband hotspots in the north with the aim to curb the contraband culture. First stop is the village of San Victor. A young boy is killed when a tractor overturns in Spanish Lookout. David Almendarez is named interim president of FECTAB amid rifts in the association. And its executives say they are tied to the state bank project. And the good news is with the BPOs that have managed to grow and create new jobs despite the economic slowdown caused by COVID-19. Details of these stories and much more coming up in tonight's newscast. Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live for Friday, May 22nd. I am Sabrina Daly. The state of emergency has curbed the number of murders and other violence. But in the South today, 2 men were found murdered. The bodies of the men had gunshots to the head. The grisly discovery was made this morning behind a house on the Hopkins Road. The victims have been identified as boat captain, 55-year-old Quintin Espinosa, and 70-year-old USA citizen Roland Burley. Espinosa was found laying face up with a gunshot wound to the forehead. 100 feet away, Burley was found also laying face up with a gunshot wound to the left side of the head. He has been living in Belize and farming for 2 years. His wife is said to be overseas and because of COVID-19 has not been able to return. At the scene, police found 2 9mm shells. While police are trying to solve the latest double murder, a friend of the victim says he might know who did it.
He lived here. His dream was to come and be a self-sustaining, self-sufficient farm here in the middle of the bush. He and his wife. His wife did there in Germany but she managed to fly to the States. She's been trying to come home ever since the COVID thing. She can't get back. She's stuck in the States waiting for a man. Waiting to get back, and now the man's dead.
So what kind of animal you have on this one?
Some pigs, some chicken, and yeah, dogs. You better try set up other thing, no? But
how long has he been staying here?
about 2 years now, you know. About 2 years, yeah.
So somebody else get killed around here too?
Yeah, Quentin Espinosa, dead with the man, shot in the head with the man. That's a very good friend of mine, you know, because he and I used to hang out, because my name is Quentin too, no? So he used to hang around in Hopkins. I know the man a long time too. And then the next valley in Silgrass, I get shot. This all happened with a shotgun, you know. And then I live on the farm, like halfway between here and Silgrass. And every couple of nights lately, I've had someone shooting a 12 gauge not far from my house, right? I'd have stalked them by and not catch them yet. Right? But somebody's the same person. I bet you it's the same damn person. Because it's one of them young boy, about 25. I know the same, and I think he's a brown from Silgrass, right? Because years back, the Brown family, because originally from City, you know, they committed some murders around here before, no? And so I think it's one of the young boys, and like I say, they passed through my farm on the way to Silgrass. And I'm going to catch them one of them days, but they're not catch it yet.
So what do you think they were looking for here?
This is just random shooting. Nothing funny. This belly crazy, you know. This belly crazy.
So there's no robbery, there's nothing taken?
Robbery, yes. The house is absolutely stripped. His house is absolutely stripped.
Things taken.
But I think this is someone else has come in after they've heard the man dead. You understand me? I think their shooting was a totally different thing. So kill Quentin and this belly together? No. This is just random shooting.
A week after its leaders were arrested for holding an illegal protest, the FECTAB executive held a press conference in Belize City. And because of the social distancing and the size of gatherings, a limited number of media workers were allowed inside. But as we reported on Thursday, there is a rift between the organization, with some members not supporting the way things are run. Today, FECTAB installed a president and said it wants to be a part of the economic recovery of the tourism industry. But it also admitted that it is tied to the Stake Bank project, so that its stakeholders did not have an option to consider other developments. Here's News 5's Isani Caetano with a report.
There was heavy police presence at the Belize Institute of Management compound this morning. where the Federation of Cruise Tourism Associations of Belize, FECTAB, held a press conference to discuss the state of tourism in these COVID times. It is the first media event the organization has held since its members were arrested last week for a failed protest on Coney Drive. Despite the fracture within the organization that became apparent in a recorded discussion on Wednesday night, FECTAB is looking forward to the recovery of the tourism industry. For Tom Greenwood, its outgoing president, that begins with a revamping of all contractual agreements with the cruise lines.
We at the time wrote an agreement, we meaning the government of Belize and the tourism board, wrote an agreement with the cruise lines, which is now 20 years old and it's out of whack. Laws are like that. You write laws and humanity moves on and laws have to be adjusted so that there's no imbalance and so that everybody profits rather than suffers. Well, unfortunately, a fair number of Belizeans, all investing in the cruise industry, have suffered because that agreement is out of whack. So we're going to be asking the Belize Tourism Board and the government of Belize, of course, and we're going to play our part in trying to offer what changes there should take place and start up a new agreement to be signed with the cruise lines before they begin returning.
According to Greenwood, they will propose a 40-60 split in the sale of tours on board the ship and on the mainland. This, he says, is the case in other Caribbean countries.
You go to other countries, the Caribbean for instance, when ships show up there, they can only sell 40% of what's on board. 60% comes ashore, they can buy locally. Not that all 60 will buy, because you never get more than 60-70% of ships taking tours. Belize has one of the highest scores, up to 85%. But we are going to push for the agreement to read that the ships will sell only 40% on board. The rest must come ashore. This way, players inside a cruise village, like the one we're working now, and players on the outside, get a chance at more than crumbs.
FECTAB's recent gripe has to do with a proposed cruise terminal to be constructed in the vicinity of the Port of Belize Limited. Yoni Rosado, a founding member of the organization, says that they feel slighted that they were never consulted about the project.
He is working out an SI for a cruise port, and we were not invited in no way, and it is very delicate when you try to do business and not involving the stakeholders. The same very stakeholders that have been fighting against all us to be part of something. It cannot be that we are Belizeans and we cannot grow and live happily in our own country with our own minerals, with our own tourists, with our own boats, with our own vans.
Part of the reason for the chasm within the organization is the fact that FECTAB has aligned itself with the State Bank project, not allowing its membership to object or consider other options in the cruise tourism sector.
We are happy to announce that several meetings and consultations with the Finstein Group and FECTAB have happened. The FECTAB members, as I said before, will have access to an enclosed, air-conditioned, world-class design, great first impression reception area. This is to be completed in 18 months. Note, this was achieved without government intervention or manipulation.
Reporting for News 5, I am Isana Cayetano.
As we reported on Thursday, FECTAB was founded in 2010 by Tom Greenwood, Yoni Rosado, Troy Gabb, and two others who have since defected from the organization. Gabb is now the project coordinator for the State Bank Cruise Port, an endeavor being undertaken by the Feinstein Group of companies. There are some within the organization who are concerned about the apparent conflict of interest that their leaders are avidly supporting the State Bank project while strongly criticizing another proposed cruise terminal in Belize City. While David Almendares, who has taken up the baton from President Tom Greenwood, he has gone on the defensive for the strong position he took against the membership on Wednesday. He says that FECTAB supports the State Bank project because promises have been made for members. According to Almendares, FECTAB will be given a 25-year lease at State Bank.
It seems that you guys have aligned yourselves with the State Bank project as opposed to any other cruise tourism development or any other organization for that matter, doesn't that reflect a one-sidedness, whereas maybe there are other members of FECTAB who would want to be able to have an opportunity with the other projects or what have you?
First of all, in a life, you're married who love you. You got a bed who want to go to bed with you. In all our time, from my pre-existence going to Terminal 1, I have always felt harassed. I was always feeling in my own country like my two operating companies not as good as the outside ones. From the inception of this project, the Finstein group of companies have been welcoming. We have discussed not only for tour guides, lengths of ideas of how we could create crafts, how we could do this. This time one pie, we're done there, shovel done there in the ground. It's scheduled to be 18 months. As the good businessmen that we are and the good business people that we tend to be, why not do business with somebody who want to do business with you? We don't have to fight this man. We don't have to take it out. We don't have to run on down. We're not in bed with him, but he is in bed with us in terms of when his business kick off, he won't give you an air-conditioned spot for 25 years. Where David Allen, where some of our same membership right now, where they attack us, won't be able to use. The beautiful thing about FECTA, when we fight, even if you're here to your benefit, you know. And this right here, I know it's going to be a resounding success. And our people need to learn to appreciate and be part of success. And when you have the opportunity to do it, you grab it, you not bite the finger.
Is FECTAB a legally recognized organization despite not submitting its articles of association and its bylaws to the company's registry for over 10 years? Since its establishment in 2010, FECTAB has only licensed its name. All other processes to complete its legitimization have been suspended and therefore brings into sharp focus the validity of FECTAB's executive. Earlier today, it was announced that David Almendares will succeed Tom Greenwood as president. However, there was no annual general meeting, nor was there an election to choose a new leader. When asked why the organization has not completed the process after almost 10 years of existence, Greenwood said they were too busy fighting against the billion-dollar cruise lines.
We recognize all that, and we know that that is lacking. This was the year of planning. This was the year when we really needed to step up our game, step forward, and get things done right. Along came the COVID pandemic. We didn't allow the pandemic and naturally the SOE that accompanied it to stop us in making one or two moves. But we're going to have to wait until both the SOE is finished and the pandemic is, more or less gone for us to then begin the ball rolling again. And to get all the legalities sorted out and all the documentation sorted out and all the people who are elected definitely set up properly as per the documentation within the organization. That is moot. The more important thing is that the horse started galloping out of the stable. The non-emergencies is sitting in a room, getting documentation going, presenting it properly, and doing everything to make that part of the organization legal.
Well, one could argue that you would have had 10 years. We're in 2020, you were incorporated in 2010. One could argue that 10 years is more than enough time for you to get the paperwork ready.
Get involved in tourism where cruise ships suddenly start pumping in, where people with a lot of money jump in, and if you don't get up and paddle, a lot of people go down.
Might not it be argued that having a legally recognized entity opens it up for transparency and accountability, in the sense that others would be able to challenge the leadership of FECTAB as opposed to what appears to be a succession plan?
They can challenge until the cows come home. The important thing is, let's get the job done.
Coming up, the Compal heads to the hottest spot in Contraband, up north, San Victor Village.
Hello, friends. I'm Dr. Bob Roberts with another
The village of San Victor, which is located off the Philip Golson Highway in the Corozal district, is a well-known hotspot for the contraband of goods. Its proximity to the Rio Hondo provides easy access to Mexico. Villagers simply paddle away to the other side to do their shopping and come back to the village loaded with contraband goods. The Customs Department has not been able to stop the contrabandistas, but the police and health authorities hope that the surge in COVID-19 cases across the border will persuade Belizeans that crossing the river illegally is not worth the risk to life. Here is Hippolyta Novello with a report.
For the villagers of San Victor Village, the river behind me is much more than just a bordering river. It's an avenue to their livelihood. Along the Rio Hondo River on the Mexican side, several communities such as Rubirosa are located. It is from these communities that villagers get their groceries and other contraband items. But with COVID-19 on the rise in Mexico, Commissioner of Police Chester Williams is trying to curb that contraband culture. The heavy police presence was felt today in San Victor Village as Commissioner of Police Chester Williams, accompanied by commanding officers for Orange Rock and Corozal, and well-armed policemen descended on the small village. The mission: stop contraband and the illegal entry of persons via the Rio Hondo, especially since COVID-19 cases in Mexico are skyrocketing. The COVID-19 pandemic is forcing residents to cross the river into Mexico and purchase cheap goods.
We know that prior to this pandemic, if persons were caught with uncustomed goods that is believed is going to be used for their own livelihood, that custom would normally give them a run. But at this time, because of the pandemic and the situation in Mexico, we cannot allow you to go over Mexico any at all, much as to come back from there with even a pound of flour. So it is something that we ask them to look at the risks.
And Commissioner Williams did asking personally in the village. Persons who are contrabandistas are known. Williams and his senior officers paid them a visit, asking them to cease and desist from carrying out their contraband activities.
So that I will ask for permission so you can forward the answer. We don't have to have no confrontation. I'm not having anything to say.
I know I'm not to say.
Nothing to say.
I'm not going there.
Okay, you're not going there.
My family is home, they don't go right now.
Okay, good. So you understand the danger, right?
Yes, I know the danger, that's why I stay home.
Yeah, okay. That's the best thing.
From the things that they start off. That is the reality.
No estamos yendo para el lado mexicano ni para ningún lado más, porque sabemos por la enfermedad. No le puedo decir quién va y quién no, porque yo estoy aquí y no lo ando viendo. No le puedo decir.
Nosotros no somos animales, right?
We are not animals. We are human beings just like them. It is good that they stop, but sometimes up to the bicycle they take. I am in agreement with what he is saying. I agree to everything.
It cannot be that the security forces or custom will be in the area abusing people, because that may aggravate them and may cause them to behave erratic, and we don't want that. It can create confrontation that is unnecessary.
On Thursday, customs officers had to retreat after they were met by an aggressive group of villagers while attempting to arrest the drivers of 2 vehicles which were loaded with contraband goods.
That was what prompted the visit. I saw the video footages where those are concerned. And so I decided I'm going to come in and see what can be done from a law enforcement standpoint to try and bring this problem to an end.
And to put it to an end, Williams needs the assistance of the village leader and members. He sat down with village chairman Concepcion Cobb, informing him that police and BDF presence in the village will be increased.
I think that the village of San Victor can see that they are doing work to control the COVID-19 for our people. Right now, we are near the river, seeing the movements. How the legal people can enter, or contraband. And so the authorities are here to work for you all. And so I don't believe that someone should be angry, because for me, it is a good thing to protect our health. If anything happens later, if the authorities manage to catch someone and lock them up, it will not be our fault, because they are already warning us.
Recently, a Mexican national was captured in Santa Cruz Village, another contraband hotspot along the Rio Hondo. Contraband activities have decreased since the start of the pandemic. However, the concern now is illegal entry of Mexican to this side of the border. Behind me, you'll see two boats. One is fully equipped with an engine ready to start up and transfer those Mexicans.
The Mexican is in quarantine in Corozal at the IT vet building. Those who were captured yesterday are also in the quarantine center. Once the quarantine period is over, which is 21 days, they'll be charged and taken before the court, and then the court is going to decide what happened to those persons from here. We also have 4 BDF patrols in the river, boat patrols, and they stay in this area between Santa Cruz, Douglas, and here with a view to ensure that they deter as much as they can the issue of contraband. So when a person is going to fend for their livelihood, they're going to do what it takes. And it is not that law enforcement have condoned it, because we all know that customs and police, BDF joint patrols have been in this area. We have run many operations in this area, all with a view to prevent these things from occurring. But like with everything else, there is always no foolproof. There is nothing that we can do that will stop it totally. But we can surely do a lot to contain it. And that is what we're trying to do now.
Changing the contraband culture in San Victor Village is going to be a difficult task, since residents here heavily rely on cheap goods from across the river. But time will tell whether heavy police presence and BDF soldiers will change that. Reporting from San Victor Village, Hipólito Novello, News 5.
Commissioner Williams and his team also visited Douglas and Santa Cruz villages, other known contraband hotspots along the Rio Hondo. 36-year-old David Galindo says he was beaten by law enforcement officers on Thursday morning. Galindo says that several GSU officers arrived at his home in Santa Elena around 6:30 that day looking for drugs and ammunition. He says that when they didn't find anything, that is when they took him away. He says that his brother, Minor Galindo, was also picked up from the house. Galindo alleges that the officers made threats and proceeded to beat them up. He is now at the hospital with injuries to the back. Today, he describes the incident during which he says he sustained burns from a lighter that the officers used to inflict pain.
They call and say, all right, we don't search in a place where no time for me. We get what we have to get. So they said, today we don't have to give me a gun. And if I don't get a gun for I want to take it out on a strong way. He said, if I have to hospitalize to get a gun, they couldn't give me a gun today. That's the way we are do. And that's the way they do. And I never believe it, but if they put it to the light and then do it. So now why they say, the police never do their job the way it's supposed to be, because I feel more like a hostage. I never feel like a person that can do a search after that I'm a hostage. Can they tell me, you see that blue van out there? That blue van where we kidnap people, and that where we do people we carry and never bring them back. You don't know I might care for a ride. Just take the last view then tell me. And actually they carry me in the van and they carry me and in our heavily tinted van. Lone officers in a combat suit.
And what did they do to you?
Then they beat me up. They beat me up in my head, slap me up, punch me up, bruise up my back. They torture me, meaning that they grab a lighter and they burn the nipple. They burn the nipple. They put the lighter there for a long while until they can't resist no more. And 3 or 4 of them hold it down completely, hold it on and just burn it without no remorse, like you never no feeling.
Galindo says that he and his brother were left without their shirt and footwear far from home. When we spoke with Galindo this morning, he was headed to hospital, and we understand he remains there at this time. Complaints of police abuse have been persistent, and Commissioner Chester Williams spoke of the incident while in San Victor area. He says the head of the Professional Standard Branch has been deployed to investigate the allegation made by Galindo. According to Williams, based on what he has seen, the officers are wrong because there is no justification for the painful burning of Galindo's nipples.
I got the complaint yesterday, and I immediately contacted Mr. Sutherland, who is the commander of PSB, and dispatched him to Salinasa yesterday. I know he have recorded statements from the two brothers as well as witnesses. They have also gathered some video footages that they're viewing. And from what I am seeing, the police officers are wrong and they have to face the consequence of the action. There is no justification for you to burn a person's nipple. I don't see the rationale behind it at all.
In another case involving the cops, PC Mark Rodriguez found himself on the wrong side of the law after his fellow officers arrested him on Saturday night. Rodriguez got into a physical confrontation with Superintendent of Police Aaron Gamboa and was slapped with several charges, including unable to provide a reason for movement outside of curfew hours and assaulting a police officer. According to Gamboa, Rodriguez was recklessly driving on the George Price Highway and refused to provide a urine sample after he was detained. This led to a fight and Rodriguez accusing Gamboa of abusing his power. Commissioner of Police Chester Williams broke his silence on the matter today, and he told the media that Rodriguez was in the wrong.
All I'm going to say is that we are a disciplined organization, and from what I saw and from the complaints I've received, the police officer Rodriguez was on sick leave, and he was out apparently under the influence, driving. And we have received reports from two different motorists who had also complained that his vehicle was swerving in front of them prior to Gamboa intercepting him. And so there is no justification for his action. I think that Mr. Gamboa was nice enough to have taken him home instead of the police station where he should have gone from the first place. And despite that, he still developed an attitude, end up cursing and assaulting Mr. Gamboa. Those are things we cannot countenance. It has to be dealt with. And more so that he was on sick leave. You're sick, you should be at home, not out drinking. And I watched his interview where he said that he was badly beaten a couple of months ago and that prevented him from consuming alcohol. And that is really not true. And if it is that he was not under the influence as he is trying to suggest, then why didn't he not subject himself to the alcohol blood test? And that would have proven if he was under the influence or not, but he chose not to do the test. So as far as the law is concerned, once you refuse to give the test and you don't have a justifiable reason to do so, you are presumed to be under the influence until you prove otherwise.
And his dismissal is dependent on the results of the court case?
Yes, I'm not going to preempt any dismissal. I can tell you that his action is such that amounts to a serious breach of discipline, and I'm going to leave that for the court to decide in terms of his guilt or innocence, as well as the tribunal. And whatever the outcome of those may be, then I will decide my mind if we're going to dismiss or severely reprimand and give a warning.
A 12-year-old boy is dead following a road traffic accident in Spanish Lookout on Thursday afternoon around 3:30. The boy, Widel Garcia, was traveling with his father, Pedro Garcia, on a tractor being driven by Venus Penner. The tractor was reportedly in the vicinity of Green Hills in Spanish Lookout when its trailer loaded with logs slid off the road. As a result, Penner lost control of the tractor, which caused it to overturn and crush the little boy. The driver and senior, Garcia, were both injured and are now hospitalized. There was another traffic accident in the west, and fortunately there were no fatalities. 2 persons, however, had to be hospitalized. The coordinator of NEMO, Lieutenant Colonel Shelton DeFore, was traveling with BDF soldier Malcolm Santos, heading to San Ignacio on Thursday afternoon. DeFore lost control of the vehicle and overturned. Both men had to be hospitalized, But family members say that the wait for an ambulance was way too long and put the lives of the injured persons at risk. Both were taken to the Western Regional Hospital for treatment. And there will be much more news after the break. Throughout this time,
protect the weak country. Wash your hands properly. Wash your hands regularly. Soap and water is all you need to scrub and rub naturally.
The price of regular gasoline went down in April by just under $3 per gallon, when crude oil plunged to historic levels on the international market. But the savings came at the start of the state of emergency, and as you know, travel ground to a halt. Tonight at midnight, the price of regular fuel starts going up again. It is currently selling at $7.26 and is set to increase by 36 cents to retail at $7.62 per gallon. We note that premium remains at $10.92, kerosene at $5.43, and diesel at $7.89 per gallon. We have been reporting on the economic woes of the transportation, which has been battered by the COVID-19. A full recovery for the industry is a few years away, as buses, water taxis, and airlines are operating well below capacity during the coronavirus crisis. Tropic Air, the biggest domestic airline, has reduced its staff, cutting it down by 60%. According to the Belize Bus Association, the industry is running at 30%. The president of the association says that resolving the issue of dire straits in public transportation will require an all-hands-on-deck approach.
In looking ahead, have you guys been able to perhaps forecast what it would take to get back to some measure of your optimal capacity before the coronavirus?
I'd say it will take around maybe 2 years or a little bit more than 2 years for the bus industry to rebound and to really say, get back. But it will be a hard road getting back to there if we can't sit down with the people in authority from the transport department, whoever the government may be after this. I mean, really and truly, whoever takes over, they need to sit with us to really do a comprehensive overhaul of the bus transport industry, because it needs that. We are at a point now where we need to look at that for the well-being of the industry and for the betterment of the industry for commuters. I mean, the government is asking a lot of operators, but we are also seeing the problems where we're bucking heads because the government want what they want and with no regards to the operators.
As it stands, the state of the bus industry will get worse in the weeks ahead before it gets any better. In the summer months, passengers commute less than they would during the other times of the year. Increasing bus runs will not necessarily improve the situation going forward.
As we come to like July and to the summer, the industry won't get better unless the economy of this country starts balancing off and picking up. The transportation industry will be where it is for now. We can't go back, and we can't increase the amount of buses we have on the road as is right now with the buses that we are running. I can't even say the operators are breaking even. You're just covering costs, buying fuel, paying a driver and conductor, and that's about it. You're not even left with anything to say take to the bank to try and save anything. A lot of us are out there and taking a deep breath that you go out there every day and get back home and no bus one tire. When you look upon the car, so one tire name, they make the money for buy one tire back right now.
Voting will take place on June 17th for the Police Association of Belize. Longtime President Corporal Arzu is seeking re-election, and his opposing slate is being led by Sergeant Jane Usher. Arzu has had a rocky relationship with Commissioner Chester Williams, who has questioned the legitimacy and legality of Arzu's presidency. Today, Commissioner Williams told the media that he will not campaign against Arzu, but rather state the facts.
The truth is, Hippolito, I don't know how to have a bitter relationship with nobody. I am a happy person. I don't envy nobody. I don't hold grudge, I don't hold malice. Mr. Arzu is a serving member of the police department. He can offer himself for election to be a member of the police association. And if the rank and file of the department so chooses to elect him to that association, then the law is that he must serve. Simple as that. As the commissioner, I remain neutral. I'm not going to campaign for either group. I'm not going to try and influence the rank and file to vote for either group. What I will do, though, is to ensure that the message that is being used for campaign is an honest message, and no fabrication by either side with a view to ensure that they get the upper hand over the other. It's a matter for the rank and file to decide who they want to represent them in the association.
The murder trial of Lord's Bank resident Kafel Garcia lost steam today for the prosecution after trial judge Supreme Court Justice Colin Williams ruled that the caution statement given by the accused will not be accepted as evidence in the case. Justice Williams gave several grounds on which he made that decision. One, that police used excessive force against Garcia, and additionally that Corporal Miller, who prepared the statement, did not sign the transcription of an interview with the accused. But the violation which Justice Williams found to be most serious was that the police did not provide Garcia with an opportunity to speak to a family member, justice of the peace, or an attorney while he was in detention. Quote, "How can an officer not ensure that he, the accused, speak with an attorney?" Justice Williams asked. That was the most egregious of offenses. That was a breach of his rights. A person's rights must be taken into consideration, the judge said emphatically. Garcia is on trial for the murder of Irvin Franklin, who was stabbed to death in the Lord's Bank area on the Philip Golson Highway in October of 2015. A man who was charged last month along with two underage brothers for gang-related activity is out on bail tonight after attorney Oscar Salgado convinced Supreme Court Justice Herbert Lord that the charge against his client was not grave enough to deprive him of his right to freedom while he awaits trial. Justice Lord agreed and granted 20-year-old Lyndon Parham bail of $5,000. In April, police charged Parham for using a video recording to promote a gang-related activity. Police alleged that Parham and others used a video recording to send a message via social media to someone in response to a previous message that was sent to them. On May 5th, police arrested and charged the owner and manager of Body 2000 Gym, Mark Neal, and gym instructor Beresford Hawes with keeping a business establishment open while it should be closed. The two men appeared in the magistrate's court this morning, where they were officially arraigned before Magistrate Albert Hoare. The charges are in violation of the state of emergency regulations, particularly against Statutory Instrument 62, which prohibits any business from opening once they do not fall in the categories allowed to open. Because of the nature of gym activity, those businesses remain on lockdown, along with clubs, pubs, bars, casinos, spas, and gaming shops. The men insisted upon their arrest that they were not operating the business and that they were merely rearranging the upgrading and equipment. But the police did not buy their story. When we come back, call centers make their mark during COVID-19. we'll hear staying at home has a difference. Today, 5 of the BPOs in Belize shared their experience on how they have been able to navigate the turbulent COVID-19 business climate. A few of the call centers lost minimal business as a result of the impact in other parts of the world. But at home, they have been able to retain most of the staff. But they have had to modify how they work. And now many of their employees are working from home. But how has this turned out for them so far? They too were surprised, and the productivity rate, and despite the difficult times, the sector is holding on strong and expects to create hundreds of jobs. Andrea Polanco has the following story.
The business process outsourcing sector has boomed in recent years. Today, there are as many as 21 call centers operating in Belize. Altogether, they employ around 4,000 Belizeans, and the sector has been able to weather the COVID-19 economic impacts. For the most part, there has been minimal employee layoff.
A lot of industries have taken a big hit. One thing I could positively say so far, and I know I can say this for all our colleagues also in the call center BPO industry, is we've managed to maintain very well.
We are working among ourselves, individually as companies and as a group, in terms of keeping as many people as possible employed. That is one of our priorities as well in this process. We know that it's a tough time. We really don't want to have any type of layoffs if we don't need to. And so that's really our effort.
So far there hasn't been any cuts?
There has been very little, relatively speaking. There were, some areas that were difficult, not cuts so much, but in terms of a pause with respect to people like some persons in the admin sector, for example. But again, I think most of us are bringing those people back in and trying to engage them as quickly as possible. So even in those cases, it would have only been a couple of weeks.
But the BPO sector had to pivot and adapt to a COVID-19 climate. Because of the nature of their operations and the number of staff, majority of the employees now work from home. It's a way of business that they didn't know they were ready for, but it has worked out well.
Our office is empty, or is relatively empty, and has been since the end of March. We have probably about 20 persons in right now. We're still basically a work from home operations. But surprisingly, and I think and the others can speak for themselves, but we were pleasantly surprised at how well the work from home arrangement went so far, for most of us.
If you were to ask probably most of us 3 months ago, would work from home be successful in Belize? We would probably say no, we wouldn't consider it. We didn't think that the technology existed. We thought that perhaps it would be hard to manage people. The reality is that many of the people who we work with, don't necessarily have a house where they have a room that they could segregate just to be able to perform their work. But we were forced to do it, and when we did it, we were very pleasantly surprised at how successful it was. I mean, we actually found that the work being performed was, we're seeing higher levels of quality, and it's really across all of our companies. We're seeing higher levels of quality. Absenteeism is virtually zero. People are at home, so they're already at work. We polled our employees. I would guess it's similar across our employees. We asked them, if you had the choice, would you rather work from the facility or work from home? 83% of our employees said they would rather work from home.
While business has declined from many industries in Belize, there's still a demand for the BPO sector. It is expected that 1,000 jobs will be created going forward.
Part of it is a response because we have been successful in Belize at sending our agents home, and the work from home has been largely successful. There are other countries that have taken a pretty hard hit because they were not as prepared and they were not as successful at getting their agents to work from home. So we're seeing some of our client partners that used to have support in say Jamaica or Guatemala, and companies there were not as successful at getting people deployed successfully to work from home. And so they're looking for other places to place their business and to grow their staff.
So you're getting additional work in a sense in Belize as a result of that?
We are. It's really been a testament to the success that we've had in getting people deployed to work from home.
Our company, for instance, is hiring. There was a period of time of uncertainty for all of us, right? So in March and in April, we didn't open up for hiring, but we kept those that we had on. We had very, very minimal losses in the single digits. And then moving forward, we are looking to ramp up because of these new opportunities that have come to us now, that everybody's finding their way, right, in terms of business and moving forward within this new normal. So our intention is to continue to recruit, hire, and train.
The experience, according to these call centers, has not only helped employees to grow in different ways, but has created new opportunities in the BPO sector.
I think what this really did for us is that it also brought a sense of maturity to our workers and our employees. Many people have, I think this is like one of the most serious ever recorded situation where it affected the entire world in history. I think about it, and I think it brought a sense of maturity to them. They see the need for them to change behavioral issues. They see the need to take full advantage of the opportunity that is given to them to be able to earn some money during this time. Some people are supportive of their entire family because the other family members can't work. Some people have to seriously consider changing what they used to do in order to come to something that gives them more money. And I think the call center industry has been proven to be very much wanted by a lot of people because of the money they can make and the opportunities they have.
It is a real win because, like Rob was mentioning, we were very scared. When COVID was on its way, we knew it was going to hit. And we were all scared. We didn't know what we were going to do. We thought we might lose the majority of our business. We thought it was only going to be possible to keep 30% of our employees. There was specific projects, there's specific clients that have to force you to work from the office because of PCI compliances and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, we prevailed. We adapted as much as possible, and we're able to grow. That's a blessing. I consider that a blessing.
Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
Representatives of 5 of the biggest call centers in Belize officially did a handing over of donation to the Ministry of Health. The players in the BPO sector got together to give over $80,000 in supplies and equipment to the Ministry of Health and the NHI. The press was invited for the handing over ceremony, where we found out more about how this donation is being used to respond to COVID-19.
We came up with the idea, well, let's pull some funds together just to assist government with acquiring the type of equipment and the supplies that they need. So individually we started making pledges. This one was 20,000, this one was 5, this one was 10, 2, 3, whatever it was. And I think the total was $82,000 that we had raised among ourselves. And this was divided through NHI as well as the Ministry of Health. And so it was something that we're very happy to have been participated in. And we're even more happy about how effective the efforts in Belize have been in terms of controlling this pandemic. We believe that it could have been a lot worse.
The role that NHI SSB played was to facilitate the purchase and the collaboration between the call centers and the Ministry of Health. So in contact with the Ministry of Health, they identified there was a need for N95 masks and infrared thermometers, which Ms. Melinda Guerra, the Central Health Region Manager, has just expressed are so much. The thermometers is on point because they will be using it in the rural areas.
We have had a lot of learning lessons from COVID. One of them is that through partnership we can get things done, and this is a very good example of it. The donations with the N95 and the infrared thermometers are definitely coming in handy at the clinics, at our polyclinics and health centers. Right now, when persons are coming into the clinic, before they come in, we have to take their temperature, so we have to make sure that everybody is fine. So that's where the triage starts, and that is happening at our polyclinics here in the urban setting, and now we hope to expand it to the rural clinics, within the Belize district, and I in throughout the country too. So definitely it's going to come, we are going to make much use of it.
The first part of the donation was made available back in March. It is not business as usual in most places around the world. And here at home, we know this all too well. With COVID-19 prevention measures such as face-to-face face masks, that is, and physical distancing being the norm for most of us, several places of business have also had to change the way they operate. Today, General Manager of NHI, Dr. Natalia Castillo Rodriguez, shared with the press just how NHI clinics and facilities have modified the way they carry out their work. She says that they don't expect that things will go back to the way they used to be.
What we are doing, we are working right now, close in collaboration with the Ministry of Health in strengthening our primary healthcare facilities in both Belize City, the north, and the southern region. That is what we've been doing throughout the whole COVID response. We've been working very closely. During the phase, we resulted, the emergency phase, we resulted to a lot of new ways of doing consultations. That was one. We have our Mercy Clinic, which is a highly vulnerable group because they attend to solely the geriatric patients, and we all know that they were most at risk. Nevertheless, safety measures were put in place for both patients and our healthcare workers. When we looked at how we would reach out, we used the telephone, we used Zoom sessions, we used technology. We also identified, and that is the difficult group, how we will reach those patients who are not tech savvy. Will we be reaching out to their family members who are? Also looking at encouraging the self-management, which is a component of health, the healthcare management at the primary healthcare level, and strengthen that, where the patient is also responsible to a certain extent for managing their health. So we're looking at all new venues on how will be the new norm, because it is a new norm. And yes, we have to schedule our patients now by appointments so that we can have the social distancing, the appropriate social distancing. If it's just a refill, you call in first. You have that contact with your healthcare professional, so they will guide you. If it's an acute case, we encourage you to call, and we guide you. Yes, you need to come in, or maybe you just need to take some Tylenol and some cough syrup, and we'll check on you tomorrow. So it's a whole new norm of managing our patients, and it won't ever go back to what it was. I will say that.
Coming up after the break, the best little zoo in the world to reopen with a bang.
smart number. Port of Belize Limited, a port with a global perspective.
The best little zoo in the world will reopen with a bang for a soft launch this weekend. 3 new educational ambassadors will make their debut this weekend. Today, our friends at the zoo gave us a sneak peek of the new highlights that you'll be able to see if you visit this Saturday or Sunday. Here's the story with Andrea Polanco.
Meet Lindo. He's the newest Jaguar ambassador. He has graduated from the rehab program and will meet the public this weekend. He was a problem Jaguar who was rescued from Blue Creek in northern Belize. But he has turned away from his old ways, and now he can roll, give high fives, and show off his jumping skills.
We've had time to work one-on-one with Lindo. Lindo is one of the jaguars we rescue, which was a problem animal causing havoc with farmers. And Sharon and the zookeepers have worked tirelessly with Lindo, making him more people-friendly. So tomorrow we'll be introducing Lindo to the public for them to get a first-hand look at a cat that was once a problem animal and is now an ambassador for its species here at the Belize Zoo.
2 other special ambassadors will also make their debut to the public this weekend. Lourdes the tapir and Ranger the scarlet macaw.
Ranger is the scarlet macaw that was rescued by the Friends for Conservation and Development in the Chicky Bull and subsequently cared for by the Wildlife Referral Clinic, and then ended up at the Belize Zoo as an ambassador for scarlet macaw species. So he was born with a defect and cannot fly, so we have him as an educational ambassador here at the zoo. And finally, Lourdes, the tapir that we rescued from the Lords Bank area it would be 2019. She also couldn't be released back in the wild. She was hit by a car and is blind in an eye, had some dental problems, and the recommendation from the vet was that we keep her here at the zoo for her older years. So we were able to fundraise and get someone to sponsor a new exhibit for the tapir extension, and so Lourdes will be debuting to the public tomorrow as well.
After closing its grounds to visitors for 8 weeks, the Belize Zoo is hosting its soft opening on Saturday and Sunday with those 3 new experiences. Visitors must wear masks. The zoo is also implementing other safety measures.
We're really excited to be reopening after 8 weeks. The zoo, we probably closed before the government recommend the complete closure of the country. And one of the reasons why we closed was because we had no visitors and we were operating. But we've had some time to really work with our animals one-on-one, personally, individually. The zookeeper has spent a lot of time along with Sharon to really look at what we will be offering when the zoo reopens tomorrow. It's a soft reopening. The zoo have more than 1 mile of pathway all across the grounds, and we will be monitoring that to see what the visitation would be like. We're playing it by ear. We really don't expect to have 1,000 people, but we can do in groups. What we will be doing definitely is for our cafe is people would have to pre-order before going into the zoo and have their name down so that we don't have too many people rushing that area. So we'll be abiding by the requirements for social distancing.
And of course, everyone must wear a mask coming into the zoo.
Right, so you need to have your mask. That's the first thing, and we will be providing hand sanitizer as you're coming into the zoo so that you're sort of clean coming in. And we'll also have hand sanitizer as you're entering the cafe and the gift shop if you choose to go in there.
And as a special treat to every visitor, you'll receive a guidebook to the best little zoo in the world, authored by founder Sharon Matola. Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
The zoo will open for visitors this Saturday and Sunday from 9 in the morning to 4 in the evening. The last tour will begin at 3:15. Cover charges for adults is $7 and $2 for children 3 to 12-year-olds. And that's the news. Don't forget that tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I'm Sabrina Daly. Thanks for joining us, and from all of us here at News 5, please remember to wash your hands, keep your social distance, and stay safe. Good night.